Welcome to Kapeleris Ultimate Talk TV. Be inspired, informed, and elevate your mind one step at a time. Talking about life, real estate, business, and beyond. Your host, author, speaker, real estate broker, Carmela Zita Kapeleris.
I'd like to introduce author, speaker, coach, the creator of Interrupt the Pattern, the Real Recruiter, and much more, inspirational industry leader, Jons Cheplak. Thanks for coming all the way from Seattle to be with us here today. We'll be taking a lot of questions from the audience panel also, but first let's start with, besides being a great author of a great book, Interrupt the Pattern, which is amazing, by the way. For those people that don't know you, can you explain who Jons Cheplak is? What is your focus in life, your passion, your purpose?
The good news is you started out with a question I can answer. So let me tell you about Jons Cheplak. I would say that I think the surprising thing overall, I'm an extreme introvert. And but what I would say is I'm a seeker and a sharer, and on my own constant journey of discovery and spreading a message that facilitates change for people that are willing to change. And I do it in the role as a father, I do it in the role as a friend, a son, and then in a business environment. And that's me in a nutshell, pretty simple, in my complexities.
I think you do much more than that, and I think you're being modest. But
oh, you want me to go into all those goodies that I do?
Well, how did you, give us some background. How did you evolve into this role? What were the demons that led you to this path? So tell us all about that, because I know you have a really interesting background.
Sure. Well, the first thing I'd say in the real estate realm, which I've played in since I was 21, so I'm 49. So it's been 28 years. I got licensed, sold real estate, and ran some companies. But I had an amazing background that was this perfect setup to be in the real estate business and be a leader. I was a bouncer in a teenage nightclub, and I was the janitor. That was the setup.
Wow.
But here's what I would say is, and I think it's exciting. It's why I'm very, very transparent, because I think the biggest part of my journey is giving people permission to be open and to face what they're experiencing in life. My 21st birthday was spent in rehab, and my 41st birthday was spent in rehab. And I went a total of 7 times from 21 to 41 years old. And the longest I stayed sober was about 12 to 14 months, and everything in my life was a manipulation to move through, to keep a relationship together. Okay, I'll go to rehab. To keep a job, okay, I'll go to rehab. And then finally, I had moved myself to a space, and through that, I'd have my peaks and valleys, and through the peaks that took place, I sold real estate, and then I had a real passion for leadership. And then my last real job, I ran Prudential, California, Nevada, Texas Realty. I had about 135 real estate offices, and was in a good space at that point in time. And as a GM exec VP, I grew the company by 350% year 1, 700% year 2. And then the next day I went from hero to zero because I quit my job and didn't want a job anymore. And I went out and I started speaking. And then what happened in there is this thing that they call ego. And I was really important. All you had to do was ask me. And Gary Zukav, who's been one of my teachers, he wrote The Heart of the Soul, The Seat of the Soul, The Mind of the Soul. One of the things that he says is the longest journey is from our head to our heart. And our ego sits in our head, and our soul sits in our heart. And so much of our life is this journey that's so forced and so about, effort and energy, and yet we don't really understand energy management. But when we can move into our soul in everything we do, and I'm talking about selling houses. I coach one-on-one CEOs of the largest residential real estate companies in Canada. Worked with her for, many, many years. And the interesting thing is what we come to discover is we're so in this work, in this grind space, when we can stop and move away from hard work and we can move into heart work, you're untouchable. When we you can move from hard work to heart work, you're absolutely untouchable. You're unstoppable. Because what happens in that space then is you're detached from outcomes. Does it mean that things are going to feel good all the time that you experience? No, but you have a different set of tools. You have a different way that you look at things. You understand that everything that shows up is here to evolve your soul and to grow you, because if you want to declare that you want to grow and you want to become better, guess what? The universe is going to serve up the lessons and say, are you ready for them? It's like everything in life.
Exactly. Okay, we're getting really deep here, so let's just change the subject a bit to real estate.
Oh, real estate. I know they're like, whoa.
We're getting really intense. So let's talk about real estate
Sure.
and business industry. You say, and this is your quote, that we are in the human resource, human experience business. Can you tell everybody what you mean by that, John?
Sure, I think in any business that we're in, everything is about an experience. People don't buy things, they buy an experience, and within an experience is an expectation of what it's going to do for them. And in today's world where the internet-empowered consumer that we're functioning with, and the internet-empowered consumer, what's very interesting is we get so siloed into what home buyers and home sellers are doing. Well, we need to step outside and look at other industries, because behavior is behavior. Principles are principles, okay? And so when we take a look at where the business is at, see, people don't believe what they're told anymore. So what do they believe? They believe in experience. See, and we're in a business that's, what I've done a lot of, because I wanted to figure out my interesting self, but I've always been fascinated, fortunately, with human behavior. And the home purchase is an emotional purchase. And so to come to understand what an emotional purchase is based on, it's based on having an experience, not numbers. Numbers do come into play, but you've got to understand these pieces. So then also in being you start looking at marketing. We talked about marketing last night. The marketing's changed dramatically too. And I'm not here to tell you, I know there are highly productive human beings in this room. I know that. And I'm not saying the way you're doing it's wrong, but I can tell you this, there's a way to do it different and to have a life of happiness and freedom, because I've got a lot of things going on, but I goof off a lot because of the messaging and the way that we do it. The consumer wants a different experience. And if we accommodate that experience, things work out real well.
Build relationships instead of just selling
Yes.
houses.
Yes.
Okay, you're more of a spiritual guy, but with some people this isn't going to resonate with them. They're going to say, real estate is a sales job. I'm just selling a house. Why do I need to know about their emotional and spiritual side? What's your response to that?
Sure, I would say the spiritual side, but I mean, when you take a look at all of our experiences that we typically remember in life are in our home. I mean, you watch what takes place when people leave a home. But I think even talking about the experience, I think more importantly in the experience is their choosing of you. Choosing to work with you or not with you. And so so I'll go to a different space as far as this emotional standpoint. What has been the #1 themed TV shows in the last 8 to 10 years? Anyone know?
Reality shows?
Reality TV. We're nosy. We live vicariously through other people's lives. Mm-hmm. Okay? And so we have this connection that goes on. Well, now what happens is the consumer expects to have more of an experience of you. There's people in this room that, listen, may not play on social media a lot, and they do just fine. My hat's off to you. But let me tell you something right now. The consumer today, because we work with thousands of them through my software that we use, through the interaction with them, they want to experience a whole you, and if they feel there's something missing, what are you hiding from me? And I deal with the people that deal in the numbers. I mean, I work with CEOs that run large organizations, and we're talking about profit, loss, budget, performance projections. We're talking about analytical folks, but we've got to understand the consumer that we're working with, and they're dramatically different than they were.
And you've tested this over and over again. Like, you have this information through your blogs and and your videos, and you know that this is what the public is looking for right now. It's not old selling. Tactics.
No, because what
not scripts.
No. See, here's what I want to coach you guys to do. Stop competing with each other. You don't have to compete if you create a community. The consumer no longer wants to be talked at. They want you to be a steward of the marketing process. Stop going with hype and start infusing the market with value and goodwill. See, our role today is not selling. We're done being sold. You're inspired to be sold by a used car salesman, aren't you? No. See, our role is this. Educate the consumer, interact. See, here's how it goes. It's real simple. Hey, here's something pretty cool. What do you think about it? Hey, I like it. Really? What other information would be valuable to you? Well, I'd like more information on school. Okay, cool, great. Educate, interact, inspire, repeat. Educate, interact, inspire, repeat. Because it takes me into a subject that we talked about last night. See, you guys are living in a myth of bad leads versus good leads. There's no such thing as a bad lead or a good lead. I'm going to tell you something else too. Your greatest opportunity to make money is not in the 10 or 15 or 16 people that are telling you right now they're going to buy or sell real estate. It's the 4,000 or 5,000 other people that are in your database that you're not marketing to the appropriate way. See, there's not a good lead or a bad lead. There's a sales lead or a marketing lead. And you have to speak a different language to a marketing lead. So whatever content you're sending out there on a consistent basis, see, my question to you is, what are you sending to the people? Do you know the persona? We go to training, we get a script and a dialogue, and here's what you say, and we're all these robots going out there. Well, guess what? The people we're talking to aren't robots. You've got to accommodate the persona. Do you know the persona? Do you know? See, here's how it goes. Here's how you market to people. What are the questions that keep the people up at night that you're trying to capture as your client? Do you know what those questions are? Have the answer to them. They'll pick you. See, because here's what happens. The persona drives the process, which drives the dialogue, which drives the progress, which moves them to a point where guess what they do? They choose you. Simple stuff.
It's that simple.
Yeah, so it's just from a background, which is, we don't talk theory.
Give John a hand.
I went into the passionate stuff, and this is just because that's more important to me than anything. I wrote a CRM, my own CRM software program 10 years ago that's used by brokerage firms throughout North America. So from my email servers, I study human behavior. I have launched over 100 million emails from my email servers. They're not outsourced out. I don't have outsourced software people either. So I crafted a program from the ground up so we understand the behavior. We've watched the behavior. We know the subject lines of videos that work and don't. We know the average drop-off lines of videos because we put videos into video hosting companies, and we test the emails. And we showed you some of those numbers last night.
The statistics are amazing. They're amazing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, let's talk about brokerages, specifically broken brokerages. When it comes to broken brokerages, you said that training without accountability is just training. That the 3 keys to training are number 1, accountability, number 2, measurements, and number 3, deadlines. Can you expand on that and why brokerages fail at training their agents?
Sure. I think that, and at first I think agents in the room will hear this and say, well, I don't agree with you, but stay along with me. The mistake that leaders are making right now is they're treating agents as their customer. Well, watch the context that's set up there. And that's primarily what I work with is, brokers, owners, managers. See, ready for this? Finish my sentence for me, guys. The customer's always...
Right.
What kind of relationship does that create? So the first thing to understand, see, now what you're creating is a B2C model, business to consumer. So the brokers, the business, and the agents, the consumer. Well, now the brokerage firm is only as good as the next thing they sell an agent. Agents love being sold some new tool, don't they? No. The other piece that's missing in the industry is this, is context, and we all do this. Is brokers keep chasing the next magic pill, but they don't take the time to, and I'm not saying all, but I coach one-on-one. I've been going out with these people. I've got brokers in a 2-day retreat. What they don't do is they're playing this game of I need to bring the next magic pill to the agent, but if they sat down and inspected where a human being is at, serving them and supporting them and inspecting, say, so let's check in what, on your business. Where are you at? What are you not doing? See, there's no measurement that's taking place. And the reason there's no measurement is people use the word accountability, but the problem is we don't know how to hold people accountable the right way, because raise your hand if you were raised on guilt. Everyone.
Everyone.
So our experience of accountability is condemnation, so a leader doesn't want to do it. Okay? Here's what accountability is. It's observing or noticing without judgment. And you know what's interesting? Agents want accountability. How do I know? Because agents will sit there and negotiate with a broker and be upset of what their split or fee is, but then they'll take that part of that fee and then they'll go pay a coach for accountability. Isn't that interesting? So right there.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's simple. So What I would say is this. Here's the final piece I'd say, and I challenge leaders. There's leaders in here that I've coached that I love, and I know they're good. I know they're good, and I watch them invest in themselves. Leaders need to stop arriving and think they've arrived. You know what? Stop letting your agents pass you up. You need to be the most competent, relevant person in the room, period. And you need to challenge your people to grow your business. And then we have a partnership and a situation in the relationship where now the agents and the leaders serve the whole. And if you have an organization, a culture you build where, okay, all the parts are serving the whole, all the parts are going to get back tenfold. That's just life.
So is this what your program, The Real Recruiter, is about?
The Real Recruiter is my recruiting technology software program. So essentially what we've done is we've built a front-end lead capture mechanism for brokers for recruiting. And then what I wrote from the ground up was a complete interface of a CRM. So we've got database management, we've got drip email campaigns. But within it, what I believe is that recruiting is an inside-out job. I think you've got to be a great leader. I don't think if you go out and feature dump on someone. See, what a leader's got to do too, if you look at it, it's the same thing. A broker does the same thing as I do as a coach. And you agents do the same thing that I do. You know what we're all doing? We're all recruiting every day. See, you guys are going out as agents and you're verbalizing your value proposition. Someone gets to measure whether you're worth it or not. You follow up with systems. You get them or you don't. Broker owners go out and verbalize their value proposition, get in front of people, okay? They choose or not. And it's the same with me. So
exactly.
That's what that software program's been in the marketplace for about 8 years. But what it also does in there is I do coaching, and I have about 350 hours of past coaching calls that our clients can go in and watch.
Wow. I'm going to say thank you to Jons Cheplak. This was an amazing experience. Thank you for being here.